Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to Sunday Morning Coffee with Caryn, episode 66. So cool. We are here. We are live. I don't know if this is going to stay today. Hold on. Hold on. Sorry, Insta. I want to be able to see what's going on here. Ah! Okay, Instagram. I think you're going to have to go low today. That's how it's going to have to be today. Okay, hi everyone in Facebook land, Instagram land. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited for today's episode. It's going to be super powerful. We're going to talk about our our uh our commonality of self-sabotage, like sabotaging my own camera rig before even being live. Look at that. Okay, here we are. Perfect. Okay, so good morning, Erica. Hello, everyone. So Sunday Morning Coffee with Caryn, episode 66. Why do we sabotage ourselves? Why? Why do we do that? So we're going to start today lighting our candle for clear communication, for the highest good of all beings, and of course our incense as well. You're always welcome to create this sacred space, or if you're just out there cleaning your house, whatever works for you. So when I clear a space or set an intention, start any client calls, anything like that, we always just bring us back into this moment, all the polarities coming back into the singularity, coming into this moment right now, not worrying about what has happened, what's going to happen, just being here. So, perfect. Put this in its little spot. And we're good to go. Perfect. So, sabotage. I sabotage myself all the time. Sabotaging can look a lot of different ways. So it can look like thinking that you're for sure getting a deal, and then the day of the sales call, you overshare with the client and they end up not hiring you because you have given away a tell that tells them that you're actually not qualified or prepared to work with them. It can be having a great idea and sharing it a little bit too early and having other people's energies affect your idea, which then causes it to change. Sabotage could be, you're really succeeding. You guys have been seeing these posts a lot from me. The thought belief that we have, especially as women. I'm mostly working with heterosexual couples right now just because it's the dynamic that I understand the most, but I know that gay couples, any couple is really dealing with this because we're all always holding the male and female energies. But in a heterosexual relationship, women are very common, especially spiritual women, to have all of this growth, all this development, all this up leveling that occurs within them. They're talking to Pleiadians, they're channeling, they're kicking ass, their businesses are shifting. They feel so good from the inside. And then they immediately go and file for divorce. They're like, oh, this man that's been with me for the last 5, 8, 10 years while I've been going through this, he can't keep up. That's sabotaging the thing that you've already had as a support system. And I'm not saying, of course, if there's an abusive situation, of course, there's always a reason why some women need to leave, but it's not as often as it's actually showing up because this is a systemic issue in even the regular coach without even the spirituality. But as far as I'm concerned, all coaches have some sort of spirituality. They might be talking about God more than spirit, but um they're it's this woman, it's actually ingrained in the woman, um that we can't have that external support, so we become codependent and we seek all this external validation. As soon as we heal within ourselves and we're able to give ourselves that internal validation, any external validation is like, oh shit, but I'm not worthy of that, I don't deserve that level, right? Other sabotages is you are going to be on this great cleanse that you know is amazing for you. I've been eating Ayurvedically for about a month now. I do have cheat days every now and then, but I declare them as cheat days, right? Like I make the decision. Sabotaging would be like you're in the middle of cooking all this delicious food for your family, and when it wasn't one of your cheat days, you're sitting there like scooping mac and cheese into your mouth hoping nobody sees you, right? um and then afterwards you go and you beat yourself up for how like stupid you were for doing that, because it's totally like counterproductive to be eating super healthy and then eat like a cup and a half worth of mac and cheese, especially if you make mac and cheese the way that I do, is not healthy. My vegan mac and cheese is, but my non-vegan mac and cheese, not so much. Um, so sabotage. Everyone sabotages ourselves, right? Like, I'd love to hear some ways in the comments that you guys for sure sabotage yourself, and I will start kind of just talking a little bit more about the neuroscience behind the sabotage, because you know that metaphysics and neuroscience are my bread and butter. Along with structural integrity, right? So we're going to be talking about the structure of your freedom, and how the sabotaging is going. It's like going around and like building a pyramid, but you keep like kicking out one of the stones, right? And we all know that we do that. So the brain science behind it is really super simple. We have not been conditioned to thrive. I'm just gonna spray myself with a little magic spray with real quick. We haven't been conditioned to thrive. So what I mean by that is, until the last 100 or so years, our entire society, any human anywhere, had this massive fear of death going on. So when it came to illnesses, it didn't matter if you were rich or poor, you were most likely going to die from the same illness because they didn't have the medicine, right? So the medical, Western medicine specifically, advances that we found, penicillin and those sorts of things, the polio vaccine, those sorts of things have been able to shift us from this constant fight or flight, right? So maybe the men and women who were in the courts and the kings and the queens and the palaces, they weren't worried about starving to death, and they weren't worried about the elements or anything like that. But in the back of their mind, there was always this like, but if we get sick, or if there's a war, right? There was always this reptilian fight or flight. So we all are reptiles, right? Every single one of us has a reptilian brain, which is the part at the back of the skull, which is our non our our automatic nervous system. It has a different name, but it slips my mind right now. Our parasympath or our sympathetic, our parasympathetic nervous system, the part that's just running in the background, right? Like our heart is beating, we're breathing, our eyes are like blinking, those sorts of things that we do that we're not conscious of we're doing, like digesting food. That's all done by the lower brain, the reptilian brain, as well as fight, flight, freeze, or faint. So, am I afraid right now? Am I going to get ready to fight? Am I going to get ready to flee and run away? Am I going to freeze and just like sit here, which is what most sabotaging actually looks like? It's not actually even taking an action, it's being too afraid to take it, because as we move forward in this ascension process and we come closer and closer to breaking completely free of the matrix and being able to create new earth, the things that we do become more terrifying. Okay, like the amount of terrifying actions I've taken in the last 60 days is insane. But I also just launched a brand new business and closed our first client in with a really with like a $25,000 package. So if I hadn't taken the risks, then I wouldn't have been able to have that success, right? So the freeze is what usually happens. It's usually something that doesn't make any logical sense, and we're going to get into this a little bit more. But I want you to focus not on the way that you run away or the way that you fight. Those sabotages are ones that we know pretty fucking well already. It's the freeze, it's the not willingness to move forward, and also the faint, right? So, this is where the ascension symptoms I'm always talking about, that is a version of the faint where you then become so physically incapable of moving forward, and it's like moving 4 steps forward, 3 steps back in your process, and you're literally doing this the whole time because you can't get yourself to accept that you're a fucking magician, and magicians get what they want instantly, and they have faith, total faith and trust, and they have no time for sabotage, because if you sabotage, they know that the spell is not going to work. It could blow up in their fucking face, right? Notorious for freezing, exactly. So in our brain, our reptilian brain, this is the brain that's been controlling us for literally millions of years. Evolutionarily, then we have the mammalia brain. You have the brain that the mammals have, They're a little bit, you can watch the elephants, how they have community, or how lions actually like sit within their pride, they make decisions. Like you can observe some of these higher mammals and see that they have these pack mentalities. They know when there's like a diseased carcass, so they're not going over there and eating it, right? um and they have a little bit of comprehension, a little bit, like, and we can see that with apes obviously, and other animals that we're able to train. So then you come up to the human brain, which is actually the prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex is affected by what we eat, what we drink, the gray matter here, the amount of screen time we have, the firing of our receptors goes on in there. So you have all sorts of this new information that's coming in at you all the time. You're in consumption mode, and it's affecting your brain. And especially for those of you who are closer to 20 than you are to 40, this is affecting you a lot more, as well as your prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed until you're 24 years old, between 24 and 26. So the fact that we tell people that they're adults and they can make grown ass decisions by the time they're 18 isn't actually true, because their prefrontal cortex isn't even fully developed until they're 26, which then you go look at all the data of like the death rates and all this other stuff that happens, kind of makes sense. Like they're still making really risky decisions because their brain isn't even fully developed, which isn't negative, but we need to be teaching this. Like neuroscience is one of my big passions. I explain it to my kids, all of it. And then once you get to over the age of 40, it becomes harder to rewire, but it's not impossible to rewire. I've got clients that are in their 50s and they have made extreme life changes, just in their happiness, their overall wealth, their love, and their relationships. All of these things have been able to change because the way that we meld the mundane and the metaphysical, we meld the neuroscience with the structural, with all of it, right? So when we think about the three layers of the brain, the first two layers have been around the longest, and this prefrontal cortex has only been around for, you know, a million or so years, however long human, Homo sapiens have been around. And of that time, you have from the beginning of the Neanderthals and Homo sapiens all the way up through the Great Depression, where there was this background noise of survival only. We're in a survival only um, society. No matter which area of the world you lived in, no matter where your ancestors came from, none of that stuff matters. You have trained, ingrained in your DNA survival only mechanisms, which means that when you have moments to thrive, when you have moments to go take a risk, to go do and chase your big dream that you want, that we've been working on for probably the last 6 or so weeks, right? Ever since we started talking about how thoughts are things and really feeling into our vision and moving forward that way, you now get to this point where you are presented by the universe the opportunity to do the thing that you've been saying that you're going to do, and you don't do it. And that's because we aren't trained to thrive, meaning our bodies, biophysically, biochemically, in our cellular ingraining and programming, are not trained to have more. So we have like, it's like having this cup, and my cup of coffee right now, you can't really see it, I don't know if you can, is like not very empty, right? It's probably like right about here. Okay. If I have that much coffee in my container all the time, then I'm good. I'm safe. I'm not going to spill. But if all of a sudden the universe gives me more and it starts filling and overflowing, then I'm going to have autonomic, thank you. Um, I'm going to have it spill over. And if it spills over, then all of this bad stuff could happen, right? That's we create these what if scenarios. Well, what if I do get all this money? Well, then I'm going to get murdered, right? A lot of, and especially if you're connected to your past lives, you're like, oh my gosh, if I get this powerful and this magical, then I'm going to set up some sensor in the ether and they're going to come out and get me and burn me at the stake again. And that shit sucks. So I don't want to do that again. Or if I have all this money, then everyone that I know is going to try to get me to to pay all their bills, right? So what are some of those things that you know that are kind of already in the background of your mind when you hear, once you have what it is that you desire, what is the first thing, like once you have the love of your life, what's the biggest thing you're going to be afraid of? That they're going to leave you, right? That they're going to find someone else. Once you have those babies that you've been wanting so much, you're going to find out that you actually hate kids or something, right? We all have one. We all have like a, okay, yeah, I really want that, but if I get it, then here's all these things that could go wrong. That thought process is because of the survival. You don't know how to have that much stuff in your life. You don't know how to have that much happiness. How to we walk around being like, okay, I'm allowed. Society has told me that I'm allowed to have this size cup, and we all have the same size cup, and we need to keep our cup not overflowing because if it spills, bad things will happen, right? When you look in the news and you see those people that have tons and tons of money and then they're having affairs and all this other negative stuff is going on. They say that they have all this money, but they really are drunks and they have drug addictions. This happens a lot with the celebrities, right? Everyone's around there. Oh, I love being okay. Maybe not Beyonce's not the best one. I'm trying to think. Who was that chick? Oh, Lindsay Lohan a few years ago, right? Like a decade or so ago. She was out there. Everyone loved Lindsay Lohan. Fucking Mean Girls. I watched it 1,000 times. On Wednesday, we wear pink. All of those things, and then she burned out, right? The Olsen twins. You have these people who are in the spotlight, who are in the mind's eye. Even the show this A Star Is Born, right? You got the star, the Bradley Cooper, who's already thriving, and then he meets Lady Gaga's character, and she becomes so big and so bright, it actually triggers within him his insecurities, and he starts sabotaging. Like that movie alone is the perfect example of what happens when you have a wounded or a disempowered feminine who becomes empowered, and an evolving masculine who already had a lot of what he ever desired, who then has to evolve to keep up with the empowered feminine. It's a perfect example. And unfortunately, in that movie, Bradley Cooper's character can't keep up. I won't put any spoilers alerts if you haven't, that's my mini. He can't keep up. Um, and that's the point of the movie, is to show that you really need to have that wholeness and completeness within yourself to be able to then support others. So if we come back to that whole idea that women are saying, oh, my husband just wants to leave me, and or I just want to leave him, he doesn't get it, a lot of that has to do with the internal worthiness. Okay, I'm worthy of having this, I'm worthy of having an amazing business, I'm worthy of having kids that are great, I'm worthy of having a sexy body, but I'm not allowed to have a supportive husband as well. That's too much. That's overflowing my cup if I have a supportive husband as well. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the abundance gift still at some point, yeah, the witch burn feels. It's true. I love, yeah. So we're gonna take it like this. We're gonna imagine, or sorry, neuroscience again. We're gonna go back to the neuroscience. This is called the book that I read that explains all of this in amazing depth is called The Big Leap. Okay, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. It's amazing. If you haven't read it, I know that it's actually a pretty big kept secret, because if you go on Instagram and try to search the hashtag, there's literally less than 1,000 people who have ever hashtagged that, or 1,000 posts. And then compared to The Secret, which has about like 1 point, like literally over 1 million hashtags, right? So if you want to know a hack to the law of attraction, definitely go and read The Big Leap. It's one of the books that I require all of my clients read, and it's one that has changed my life, has changed my family's life. My husband read it. My business partner that I just started the venture with, I'm making him read it. Yeah, it's incredible. And The Big Leap is this idea that we need to move into a bigger cup, essentially. So instead of being like, oh, my cup can't overflow, it's I need to create a bigger cup. I need to take the leap and take the faith that if I jump out of this cup, that there's a fishbowl waiting for me. Or if I'm going to jump out of my fishbowl, that there's an ocean waiting for me and that it can hold me and I can hold all this happiness. And it comes back again to that thriving idea that until the 1920s, 1930s, we had the Great Depression. 1940s, we had World War I or World War II. So you're looking at the 1950s is the first time that any part of society could walk around and be like, you know what? Even if I get sick, I'm not going to die. I have Western medicine. I have a nice house. I have this big house with 2-car garage. I have this lawn, right? The American dream. The The Leave It to Beaver, June Beaver, white picket fence, beautiful yard, beautiful clean inside, better homes and gardens, right? Now, don't get me wrong, when we talk about the roles of women during that time, that would be a whole nother live stream. But societal, right? Like, what is everyone looking at? They're looking at that June Beaver, happy days, sort of idealistic. And for the first time ever, we could actually attain it because we know that our root base needs are being met in the fact that there was tons of food going around. There was clean water for people to drink. There was plenty of shelter for people to go into, and there was access to medicine, right? So now we start creating the ability, we actually can have trauma bonds. The thing about trauma bonds, guys, and this is a really hard pill to swallow, but it's true. If you have trauma, you have privilege. I'm going to repeat that again. If you have trauma that you're trying to heal from, then you are a privileged individual. Meaning that those people walking around in third world countries that are wondering where they're going to find clean water to drink, where they're going to find their next meal, having no idea how they're going to keep safe from the elements and where they're going to sleep, who have no clue if they got sick, if they would even make it, or that sort of medicine even exists, they don't have time to give a shit about what happened to them when they were a kid. They don't have time to give a flying fuck about what their lover did to them in the past. Okay? The guy that got them pregnant, if they're walking around pregnant and wondering where they're going to give birth or how they're going to do this safely. That's all they are so in their root that they cannot even begin to have time or energy to focus on trauma. So if you're walking around and you're like, but I had this bad experience happening, but this happened to me, you have all these fucking stories about why you can't have what you want. You are a privileged individual. And those stories are what sabotage you. Okay? That makes sense to everyone? Your stories are your saboteurs, your old belief systems that you're not willing to rewrite, which we've been talking about again for about 6 weeks, rewriting the story, rewiring the neural brain, right? So the upper limit problem is very easy. The upper limit problem is what he discusses in the big leap. You can have the most, so let's use this example. How many of you have had an amazing fucking day? Everything in the world is going great for you. You got complimented when you walked into work about how beautiful your dress was. You got on the scale in the morning and you'd lost 5 pounds, and that dress actually fit when you put it on. The kids were super sweet while you were getting them ready. And you go and your boss is like, hell yeah, we're going to give you a promotion. We're giving you a raise. Everything is so good. You go home, you go kiss your husband. Everything's great. You put the kids to bed. You've had the most amazing dinner and you're sitting down on the couch. And all of a sudden, he brings up how your sister is whatever. And all of a sudden, you're in a fucking fight. And you're sitting there like today was the best day ever, but of course because I deserve it, because of whatever, all the stories come up, you're in a fight with your husband even though you've had an amazing day. Besides that, anyone had a day like that similar can kind of see where I'm going with that, like things are going your way and then all of a sudden just like drops off. That's your upper limit. That is the limit to the amount that you are willing to have in happiness, bliss, and success, right? So you're blissed as fuck walking around like, oh, I look fly. I look so sexy. I'm hitting my goals and my weight, and I'm able to lift a little bit more, right? My booty's looking good. And oh my God, my boss just gave me a promotion. Fuck yeah, I'm killing the game. I'm killing the game. I'm gonna pick up some bomb ass dinner. Oh my God, they actually didn't fuck up my Uber Eats order. This is the best day ever, right? You're literally walking around like, best day ever, best day ever, best day ever. And then something happens where it's usually the tiniest little thing, right? Your husband broke a wine glass. Or again, he starts talking about something that you're just really not fucking interested in talking about right now. or you just, yeah, or you just cry for no reason. You all of a sudden you like go into the bathroom to like touch yourself up, and when you look at yourself in the mirror and you like actually allow the day to hit you, and you're like, holy fuck, that's so much responsibility. Oh my god, I'm going to be in charge of everybody, and now and then what would happen if I lose my job, and you start spiraling down the what if game of all of the bad shit, because you finally let it like soak in that you just had the most amazing day ever, and your brain triggers and is like, error. If you have too much, it's risky. So that's what it is. It comes down to this risk, the fight or flight. Yeah. Read The Big Leap. It's called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Okay, I'll even type it in here. It is, you'll have to read it a few times because it's amazingly life changing. One of my dear friends has been coached by Gay and his wife for about 15 years, so she actually helped me a lot when I was reading that book and really understanding this concept. So it's, again, one of the reasons why I make all of my clients read the book, because when you understand this whole life alignment, which is what I teach you, I've been using the plates analogy, or you have all these different cups that you want to fill, and it's hard to keep them all full. So as soon as they explained that like sometimes the cups need to be upgraded, it made so much sense to me. I often wonder why the amazing feelings disappear on the to the smallest garbage. Exactly. That's an upper limit. So it's that fight or flight response again, right? So you're in here, you're in this reptilian brain, and what happens is literally, and this is a DNA neurological patterning that as soon as you're made aware of, it then becomes amusing. I still hit upper limits all the time. It's just that now I know what they are, so I can more easily transmute them and laugh at them, right? Like, I'm having an amazing day, and when my kids breaks, a Christmas ornament, I can start feeling that anger, like, you learned that was it. And like, oh, wait, we've been having so much fun decorating the Christmas tree, and we had so much fun celebrating this, amazing opportunity where, again, I'm still high on life about that. I literally launched a new business this week and closed my first client at a $25,000 package. It's fucking amazing, right? I love it. My life is amazing. So now those little things, when they come in, I become aware, like, oh, upper limit problem. Am I going to allow this thing to be what spirals me down, or am I going to laugh? Be like, you know what? Shit breaks. It's okay. That ornament has survived for 20 years. It was time for it to go. Right. And in our house, we have a little game where when something breaks like that, because we have three little kids, right? They're 12, 5, and 3. So shit breaks all the time. I drop stuff. We got a dog. We have another dog that hangs out all the time. Shit breaks. We have made it a game that when something breaks, it's an offering, and we'll just name a god. Usually Hermes, because Hermes is a big one, or Thoth around here, the communication and commerce and all of that. But if something breaks, we're like, oh, look, we're giving an offering to Hermes, and we clean it up and we just have a little laugh. Anyway, I digress. The upper limit problem is anywhere. Okay. So maybe you're one of those women who is killing the game, and you have the most supportive husband, and you have kids that actually fucking listen to you on a pretty regular basis, and you have friends that support you, but you literally cannot get healthy no matter what you do. You are always sabotaging yourself on your diet. You are always skipping out on days at the gym, right? And you're just, or you're getting these headaches, right? This is another, women get this a lot when they're supported externally. They'll all of a sudden create these autoimmune diseases, this autoimmune disease, this internal physical disease. So you're getting really bad headaches or migraines on a regular basis. You're exhausted and you have no idea why, because you're really not doing that much, but you're like, I am just so fucking tired. I cannot bring myself to go to the gym today or go on my walk or whatever it is that you're doing with the cocoa still happening. I don't know. I don't use a gym. Um, or you have gastrointestinal, right? Like the increase in IBS and Crohn's and like all of that stuff. That is huge. Gastrointestinal issues are a huge, huge, huge thing. You're changing your core beliefs. You're changing your core belief system about what it is that you deserve, what it is that you want, how you can be supported, and it gets stuck. All that energy gets stuck in your core, especially if you're not getting regular body work or you don't understand how to move the energy up through your channels. This is where the accelerated boot camp, the accelerated ascension boot camp that I created was literally for these symptoms. Okay. If you have any physical symptoms, you are someone that does the roller coaster of emotions like this, you're someone that does spiral out and go down the what if rabbit hole, as I call it, get yourself the accelerated ascension boot camp. It will change your fucking life. I promise you. It's on my website. Um, I will pull that up. I'm gonna pull it up for you guys right now, so just bear with me because I literally created this for you all because of the amount of people that come to me saying, how do I deal with my ascension symptoms? Instagram, I'll make sure the link's in bio. Or if you just go to my website, you can click it. It's a little top banner at the top. Um, so you have these things that happen. You have everything else going on in your life is amazing, and then you have this physical symptom that's going on. Well, that's an upper limit problem. You can, if everything is energy, since everything is energy, not if, we know this, right? 6 fucking weeks I've been talking to you guys about this same idea and wrapping them into different packages. Your thoughts are things. Your brain, specifically your pineal gland or your third eye, receives light into it, and depending on how much light is coming in tells us whether or not we need to create melatonin. And the melatonin is what makes us be sleepy. It's how we connect with the circadian rhythm. It's why I tell you guys to go outside for at least 20 minutes every day and soak up the solar codes. The sun is so pretty right now. I'm going to be doing it after our live. And the more you can decalcify your third eye, hape rape, that's a really amazing plant medicine. You can use that. Breath work, especially like nasal, changing the nose, this one. That one clears the sinuses. Breath work is great for it. Kundalini, the meditation, anything that's opening your third eye. Your third eye is actually your pineal gland, which receives the light. Your brain emits 1 billion biophotons per second, and photons are light, no matter if they're biophotons or not. They're light, and light intermingles in the quantum with other photons in the universe. So the more open and imaginative, so your third eye is also your gateway to the causal chakra, which is the imagination, right? Your little kids that are playing around, making up these crazy games, they're super connected to their causal chakra and their imagination. But what were we all told as little kids? Stop, like, at a certain age you have to stop using your imagination. Fucking bullshit. Your imagination is your super conscious resource, your best super conscious resource. So as you open your brain, the more biophotons that you have emitting into the quantum, the more you can receive back the frequency back into your body. But you have to be open to actually receive it, right? You have to be open to be like, I'm not going to limit myself when the moment comes. Okay. Headaches my entire life. So, headaches your entire life, Marion, can really be blocks. What I'm getting, I love how I work. So, what I'm getting for you, Marion, is to look at blocks and your past lives, something about blocking off your crown. This is something that a lot of people do. We've been burnt. Remember burning at the stake? We've been burned at the stake so many times that one of the times that we were being burned, we were like, fuck humans, and we cursed ourselves. So, starting to look at um, any spiritual or supernatural blocks that have been put on. Headaches can also be caused by um, that again that there could also be something physical, Marin. I'd love to get you on the table. I'm so much better when I'm hands on with this sort of stuff, to be honest. That's why one on one is my favorite way to work. And yes, double alternate nostril breathing clear, double ear infections. That's amazing, Candace. Yeah. So Marin, I really want you to look into that. I'm really getting for you that there's like a cap. That's all I can see. I can see this like dark purple cap instead of that bright, shiny, vibrant, violet crown opening. There's some sort of like cap on the top of your head. So I'd love to discuss that with you privately if you wanted to message me. See if any of the resources I have would help you with that. It's what I love. I love looking at all 4 bodies, right? physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. We have them all. It's my pride and joy. It's just what I love more than anything. That's why I'm here. So now that we know, I've been struggling with unidentified rashes for the last 8 years. Tried physical, emotional, energetic. No one knows. Yeah. So rashes are. I'd love to discuss that with you more. Honestly, if anyone wants to like, I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose. I'm not a physician. Um, but I'm really fucking good at what I do when it comes to tuning into individual bodies. So if this is something that becomes like common that people would like to have that one-on-one attention for specific things, then I know that my guides will definitely drop in something that's going to be useful for you. I know that you have, again, look through the Accelerated Ascension Bootcamp, and also you can ask your rashes. I know it sounds crazy, but channeling works for everything. Okay, channeling works for everything. I have more than 10 times my business in a year, and I channel all of it. When I try to hire coaches is actually when I get fucked because their systems are too 3D for the 12D consciousness that I'm meant to stream into the planet. And I just have to say thank you. I love you. This was a really good lesson, but I need to just trust myself, right? That unwavering self-belief of the um, of the manifesto of freedom. Speaking of the manifesto of freedom, this is what you get to make sure that you are not sabotaging yourself, okay? So the manifesto of freedom says that I am willing to take. I'm going to read it perfectly because I always say it wrong and then I get frustrated that I said it wrong. Where is it? Okay, I'll just have to remember it. So I have, what is it? I have relentless focus and discipline to take the massive, terrifying actions necessary. What is it? And have unwavering self belief that I am always guided by the universe. I can give it to you guys. This is a freebie that you can get on my website. This is totally yours for the taking. Please go download it, go have fun, enjoy it. It's amazing. I'm going to put it on here for you. Instagram, if you go to my website, you can scroll down to the very bottom of it and you can get this. It's free. You don't have to worry about it paying for anything. Let's see here. Where is it? Dot 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 dot. It's right here. Okay. Yeah, so take I have the relentless focus and discipline necessary to take massively terrifying action with the unwavering self-belief that I'm always supported and guided by the universe. Okay, that's it. So when you have that unwavering self belief, right, that's when you can take those jumps, when you take those leaps, right? The name of the book is The Big Leap. What we're doing here is taking massive, terrifying action. Now, the actions themselves don't need to be massive, okay? It doesn't need to be quitting your job or selling your home or anything like that. It just has to be terrifying, okay? Because when it's terrifying, what are you now fighting? You're fighting that amygdala. You're fighting that fight or flight or freeze or faint response. And what did I say at the beginning? The number one way we sabotage is by freezing. Okay? The universe, time doesn't exist. Our experience of time in a linear fashion does, right? So we experience time in a linear fashion because of the way that we've set up the game of Earth, but it doesn't really actually exist. So as soon as you have a thought in the quantum, it already is there, it already exists, you already have it somewhere, and you're now dissolving all of the limiting beliefs and all of the blocks that are stopping. You don't need to create it because you created it with your thought. All you're now doing is taking down any barriers that are stopping you from already having that thing. The problem is that most people think the thought and then are like, okay, well, I'm just going to detach and I'm not going to worry about it. And then years go by and all of a sudden you're met with the opportunity and you're like, holy shit, there's no way that I can be allowed to have that. I can't be allowed to have that dream come true because look at all these other beautiful things. You didn't realize that to be able to have that big dream, I'm going to use mine. as an example because it's the easiest thing for me to do using my own personal examples. So I've had a dream to move to Hawaii for ever. Forever. And not just to move to Hawaii to be able to have a beautiful center there and to have the ability to have people come and work on the land and be able to stay there and farm and be support system and to be staff while also holding really high level retreats for the elite who are people that have the ability to then disseminate this knowledge through the masses very easily, right? You got someone like Beyonce, who's got over 3 million followers on Twitter. I'd rather be talking to her and letting her share the knowledge than trying to talk to the 3 million people individually, right? So I've had that dream to be able to have those really high end clients, high elite clients, be able to teach them what I know about neuroscience and about uh, metaphysics and channeling and being able to bring in that new earth consciousness to the higher level, but also having all of these other places where no matter where you're at, you're able to work with me. You want to come, maybe we'll have a couple of those lower end offer weekends, or maybe you could win a chance to come. This is the vision, right? But then I put it away. I'm like, oh yeah, Hawaii one day when I'm like 55 or 60 years old. In the last 60 days, I already told you I've had to take more massive, terrifying actions than I ever imagined that I would need to. And it's because the universe keeps presenting me with situations that are like, okay, so right now, are you willing to do this thing? Right now, are you willing to go through yet another rebrand when you literally just rebranded? Right now, are you willing to take on a business partner when you don't like people? Right now, are you willing to stop focusing on individuals and shift to working with couples because you know that the epidemic of women who leave their husbands because they're just not getting it is totally fucking over the new earth plan, right? We're gonna need men to build new earth women. I don't know if you've got that immaculate conception thing down yet. It's something that I'm still working on. So I don't know if you do. So far, I know about Isis and some people back then in ancient Egypt and Mother Mary. And since Mother Mary, I haven't heard of any immaculate conceptions because we lost the way. We're going to need men to help us build. So the fact that so many women go off and literally create amazing businesses, amazing lives, all of this stuff, they do this. And then they're like, oh, but my husband who was supporting me this whole time, yeah, he just doesn't get it. That's not your decision. You don't get to decide whether or not they're going to make it in New Earth. You get to love them for who they are. That's a whole nother live stream. The point is that I've been making all these rapid changes, and in that process, that dream of that sanctuary in Hawaii is like getting closer and closer and closer and closer because I'm not afraid of it anymore. I'm willing to make the big changes, the big leaps, the massive terrifying actions, right? So many people are walking around with a big dream and they get presented with the opportunity and they freeze. They let it slip by, and when they let it slip by, because time doesn't exist, the universe is like, well, I gave you the opportunity to put the order in. I brought you your food. I brought you exactly what you wanted, and instead of taking the food from me, you got freaked out and afraid, and now the food is cold. Now the opportunity is gone. These are split, like they're usually not split second decisions, but usually within like a week, right? Especially for those of you who follow astrology, who are looking at that sort of energy shifts. When you get presented with something, you need to see that as the sign. Like, stop looking for the tests and start focusing on the miracles. Okay, it was a huge one that I had to get my business partner like on board with. Stop asking if this is a test, because if you ask if it's a test, then it's a fucking test. And then you're sitting there like, oh my God, is it a test? Do I do this? Do I not do this? What are the repercussions? And as soon as you're in your mind, you're in your saboteur. It's that simple. Now, if you look at your human design and all this stuff, people will be like, oh, well, because I'm a projector, then I need to blah, 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 blah. Fuck all of that and start trusting your body. Can you get out of your head and into your heart? Can you get out of your head and into your pussy? Right? Can you get out of your head and into your body and let your body be your guide? Okay, can you let your body know what is actually the safest for it? Can you let your body tell you this is where you need to leap? The thing is that you will probably feel absolutely terrified, and that's how you know that it's the right choice. Okay, if you feel calm, cool, and collected, It's not a massive terrifying action. It's not one of those needle moving actions it's I mean, it can be. It gets easier to take these actions, but there's always a part that's like, holy shit, am I really about to do this? Right? Am I really about to make this shift? Even though I know making that shift is going to bring my desire closer to me. That then brings up all of the shit again. Am I worthy of having that dream come true? Am I supported in having this? Do I deserve the support that I would need to have this happen? Do then you have all the societal stuff come up like, oh, well, this would require me to travel. Well, if I travel, then this is going to happen. And what about my kids? Like all of these things that you thought that you had processed come back up again. The reason why we sabotage ourselves is because there is an innate underlying code that tells us if we have too much, somehow it's dangerous. If we have too much love, if we have too much joy, if we have too much wealth, if we have too much health, any of the areas, right? Bliss, wealth, health, success, love, all of those things that I tell you super conscious leaders have unlimited amounts of. We then limit which ones we're going to allow ourselves to have. I can have four of the five. I can have unlimited health and wealth, but I can't have any love. No one will ever love me because I'm just this badass boss bitch and men don't understand me. Well, I can have love and a family, but I don't deserve to have a successful, thriving business. They're all just stories, right? They're all stories. They're all trauma, which means that it's all privilege. You are privileged if you have trauma. If you are sabotaging yourself from having the biggest, baddest, most bright life that you can have, then it's because you have the ability to even have those thoughts. And if you have those thoughts, the negative ones that send you in a spiral, then you also have the capacity to have the positive that send you in an upward spiral, right? The what if game works in both ways. What if all this bad shit happens to me? Usually ends in you dying. That's how I know that the underwriting code for everyone is the death code, which is what I'm teaching people how to rewrite, obliterate from their system. You also have the what if in the opposite. What if? What if I do have this thing happen? How much better could my life be? How does it get better than this? And as soon as you imagine how it gets better, guess what? That now exists in the quantum and you can have that too. This is exactly what I needed to hear today. Thank you. Time to pull out the big leap again. Yeah, it's such a good one. It's amazing. Okay, I either don't have any opportunity to make tough decisions, actions, or I don't recognize them. So you might not be recognizing them, Marin. And this comes down to most of my clients don't even remember, they don't know what their big dream is. Okay, and I'll leave with this so that we can, keep this under an hour, which is what I like to do. When it comes to the sabotage, which is kind of ironic, but it's fine. Truth chills. Oh, I love those truth chills. When it comes to the terrifying, what I see with a lot of my clients is they actually aren't willing to admit what their big dream is because it's silly. It's too big, right? I told you about Hawaii. Let's go to the big, big dream. I want those types of sanctuaries all over the world. Okay. I grew up on Star Trek. As far as I'm concerned, the fact that we still have war or famine or that people don't have access to clean water and um, medical and education all over the planet is a fucking atrocity. Okay, that is my life's mission, is to get us to that point where the entire planet, every single 8 billion people, have the access to have pure freedom, pure love, pure bliss, pure health and wealth in all ways, whatever allows them to fully get out of that root and get into the creation mode, because I think that we would create one fucking amazing planet if we weren't worried about all these base needs. So I don't just want one of these amazing centers. I want dozens all over the planet that I help run and have people who are running them, and that I'm up there as the little, the choreographer of this giant planet wide dance. That sounds insane. Let's add in the fact that I think that we're going to be able to be having communication with our intergalactic and star families and the inner Earth family doing this. So, Pleiadians teaching your Pilates class. Sounds crazy, right? So I'll talk to my clients and I'll be like, what is it in 6 months from now? If working with me was the most wild success that you could ever imagine, what would you have? And they do things like, oh, well, I would just be blissed out all the time. I would just be so happy. I would be able to do the things that I like to do. And they're not specific, okay? They're super unspecific for a reason because we're afraid that we're going to get let down. If we make a declaration, it's like writing your Christmas list when you were a kid. You put, this is what I want. You want the biggest, brightest bicycle. And every year you got fucking socks, right? So you got let down. So you stopped asking for the big things. I invite you, Marin, if you're someone who says that I don't recognize them, is your dream big enough? Are you actually able to go into the future, which we did I did a meditation, I want to say 2 weeks ago on Saturday. That was like a little short 10-minute meditation um, where we went into the future. We created a body feel of it. That's on my page. You can go into the videos and just scroll through them or go to my YouTube channel, um, which is just like Caryn Terrace. You can put it in there. It's a picture of me, black and white. And it's just like this 10-minute meditation I did where you can go into the future and pull it in. So I work with timelines, right? So we're always working in the timeline, being able to go to the future. I talk about it with being president of the United States, right? I go to the White House, I walk through the Oval Office, I sleep in the bed there, I get on Air Force One, I do all those things in the future, and I think about how do I feel while I'm on Air Force One? How do I feel when I'm walking up to give the inaugural speech? How do I feel? And then I check in during the day, here and now, and think, well, is that how I feel right now? Right? How do I dress? There's all these little tips and tricks. So if you're saying you don't recognize that you either don't have the opportunity, that's not true. There's opportunities for you to have your big dreams. It's, are you willing to commit to that big dream? Right? The big leap isn't about like, oh, I'd like to go from making $100,000 a year to making $200,000 a year. It's, I would like to go from making $100,000 a year for someone else to having my own amazing badass business that is maybe even in an entirely different field than the one that you're in right now. Right? So what is your big, and make a declaration, right? So you want to make a declaration right here in the post or in the video, feel free to like declare it right here, right now. Claim your big dream. Because as you declare your big dream, you're putting the order out into the universe, and you can wake up every morning, and maybe all you do every morning is 5 minutes of meditation where you find yourself in that space, right? Like, I know that the presidency thing is coming, it's in there, but what I've been really focusing on is sitting on my private beach in Hawaii, drinking coconut milk straight from the coconut and watching my kids play in the surf, right? Like those sort, how does that feel? What does the coconut water taste like? All that stuff. So funny. So similar to my big dream, only difference is I'm focused on regular people rather than the elite. Definitely not crazy. We're going to make it happen collectively. I'm so excited. Thank you for this pep talk on facing fear and taking action. Perfect, Christine. That's amazing. It really is that you want to have that big dream because then those terrifying actions become more obvious to you, right? You have that big dream and then someone comes to you and says, hey, I want to book you a one-way flight to Hawaii. You might have to be like, what? Or whatever. Whatever happens, but you get to see, okay, this is that opportunity. And it's not a test like, oh, how are they trying to fuck me over? It's, am I willing to do whatever it takes? So here's the other question. Once you have your big dream, this is my final thing. Once you have the big dream, I'm definitely not clear. I just know that how I want to feel. Free, secure. Oh, okay. So you have to know what it looks like. That's such a big thing. Thank you, Marin, for admitting that. I'm definitely not clear, specific. I just know how I want to feel, not what it looks like. You want to feel free, secure, and joyous. Perfect. So what are the things that you need to have to feel that way? What are the things that you do that already make you feel that way, right? When do you feel the most free? When do you feel the most secure? When do you feel the most bliss? And in the future, will you still be doing those things, or are there other things that you want to be doing that you believe are going to make you feel that way? Like, one of my things that I'm also working on right now is a private jet. That is huge. We have a big ass fucking family, especially once you add in the business partner and his family. Like, it's fucking so many, and I hate the mask and I hate all that shit. So, private jet, that's happening by probably June of this year. We're gonna just have a private jet because it's way easier to charter a fucking private jet than it is to deal with any of the rest of the airline bullshit. First class tickets for 8 is like so much money, and then you put that into a private jet, it would pay for itself in like 4 flights. um so what are the things that you need to have, right? Can you really see yourself in that big vision? And remember, your big vision could be insane. It could be like, I want to live on the moon. Okay, cool. There's nothing that's impossible. That's what I love. I love my clients because most of their ideas are crazy because they don't exist yet because they haven't pulled it out of the ether yet. It's fine. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's what I live to do, is to hold the space for you to birth that reality. I'm the dragon doula, right? The doula that allows you to birth fucking dragons into reality. Hell yeah, I'm with it. So get really clear and specific on your dream. When you can get really clear and specific and be able to go to the same point over and over again, you're now linking your brain to a future moment in time, right? Again, time doesn't actually exist, but our perception of it in a linear way does. You then can connect to it and pull it back in. And every morning you're going to the same point. Every morning you're going to the same future. Every morning you're staying in the same timeline. And when you're able to do that, you then are routing your own neural pathways. And it's like going sledding, right? And you go sledding and you see the deep places that all the kids have sled down the same spot, and it's hard and it's fast. It's like whoosh, whoosh. And then that's when those terrifying actions, all of a sudden you're going so fucking fast, you're like, oh my God, and there's a jump. Ah! Right? I'm going to be a billionaire and buy out all unethical slaughterhouses. I'm going to start a foundation that funds conscious businesses. I'm also going to write and direct movies. Fuck yes, Candace. So I want you to pick one for the next 2 weeks, okay? Through the end of, yeah, through until the solstice, okay? Just for fun. This is your homework assignment. Just for fun. For the next 2 weeks, focus on one big ass amazing dream and commit to 5 minutes every day. If you're someone like me that wants to live near a beach, put on a 5 minute YouTube beach sounds. If you want to have, you know that you're going to be in New York buying out all the billionaires, then put on some New York sound, like putting anything that's going to get you there. You want to live in Dubai, find a track that you can hear the street sounds, right? Cook some Indian food and then go do it. The more you can get your 5 physical senses on board with this, the easier it becomes. Just focus on the same thing, and then focus on how you feel when you have it in front of you. How does it feel to walk through that skyrise apartment? How does it feel to have a private chef that cooks all your meals for you? How does it feel to know that your kids are going to the best schools? How does it feel to have all these things? Manhattan, how did I know Manhattan? um and just focus on it, see it in your mind's eye so clearly, and go back to the same moment in time and pull it into you. And then throughout the rest of the day, focus on that energy. And then when you have moments where you're freezing, when you have moments where you're like, I was having such a good day, why am I crying in the bathroom right now? Oh, I have an upper limit problem. It becomes so, oh, upper limit problem. I was feeling really good all day and now I'm crashing. What do I need to do to course correct? And this is where you have all of the different tools that you've been learning, right? What the good are all these fucking tools if we don't use them except for when we're already feeling good, right? Need to do some alternate breathing. I need to go mirror gaze. That's a big one that I do. I might get triggered in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner and I'll go excuse myself to go to the bathroom and go do some mirror work where I'm like, I am Dragon Empress Caryn. I am a fucking badass. I am here to change the planet. Right? And I'll have that conversation with myself in the mirror. So it doesn't matter what the fuck was said at Thanksgiving dinner because that's not who I am anymore. Right? Maybe that's who I was 5 years ago. Maybe that's who I was when I was a teenager, but that's not me right now. Fight, flee, fight, flight, freeze, or faint. The most way that we sabotage ourselves is the freeze, right? And it's all neurological. When you can see this and understand it, go back and watch the video and get that on a neurological, you stop judging yourself. You stop beating yourself up for this happening. It still happens. My clients that are millionaires have upper limit problems. They're different, but they're the same fucking thing, right? They have big dreams that they have no idea how they're going to get to, and they still make them happen, right? Because we have the tools, the metaphysical and the mundane tools necessary to break through those blocks, to unlock the neurology, to unblock anything that's stopping them from having their big dreams come true. The difference between a millionaire and you, it's just that the millionaire already knows and has this proof that they're able to do great things. You have the ability to do the same thing. You have already done great things in your life. You know how your own sabotages affect you or how they show up. So just start taking notes of that. Okay? I love you all. This was a long one. I know. Rewatch it as you need. I love you. Message me if you have any questions or anything like that. Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. Mwah.